Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, my name is Janelle and I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I got this super simple, easy, bronzy, glowy skin summer makeup. This is actually the same makeup look that I wore in my quarantine beauty favorites video. A lot of you guys liked my makeup in that video, so I decided I would film a tutorial on it. And not only that, I'm also using all of the beauty products that I mentioned in my quarantine beauty favorites video, and I'm putting them into action with this tutorial. So if you guys want to see how the products that I mentioned performed and all that in a makeup look, then definitely stay tuned. But before you go anywhere, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell if you want to be notified every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when I upload. Thank you so much to all of you guys who have subscribed. I truly love and appreciate you all so much. And without any more rambling, let's jump into this makeup look. Alright, so I'm going to start off by moisturizing my lips because they feel really dry. I'm going to spray some of my Lightful lotion spray. To hydrate, I'll be using my Summer Fridays Jet Lag Mask. I find that the skin prep for this is like super important because you want to make sure your skin is nice and hydrated. That way everything just like glides on really nice and you get that subtle glow without it being too greasy. Alright, so now I'm going to quickly fill in my brows. I ran out of the Morphe brow pencils that I normally use. So lately what I've been doing is I'll outline it with my MAC Shape and Shade brow tint in Spite. I go ahead and fill it in using my Anastasia brow powder in dark brown. I'll speed through it, but I'll still keep the clip, that way you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. And then once I have my brows roughed up like this, they're looking a little crazy, I'll go ahead and use my concealer to prime my eyelids as well as clean up underneath of my eyebrows. I normally just like to use whatever concealer I plan on using that day. And today I'm going to be using my Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Concealer. I've been really enjoying this. And just lightly outline the bottom. I like to do a little bit of both eyebrows at a time when I'm cleaning them up. That way I can make sure both of the shapes are the same. Use the concealer to erase if like one of the arches are too high, like this eyebrow. I think I arched it a little bit too high. Once I do my initial line of like cutting out the bottom, I'll just feather it down and blend it onto my lid to use as eyeshadow primer. You want to use a really light hand, that way you don't get the concealer over top of the brows you just did. Use my beauty sponge to buff this out, and it just makes sure that the concealer is completely even on the lid, because whenever the concealer is patchy, it can make the shadow that you put on top patchy. I'm going to set my brows in place using my Covergirl Easy Breezy Brow, and mine is in the shade Light Pale. I got a lighter color to kind of soften up my brows because my brows are always pretty dark. So originally in the makeup look that I did for my quarantine beauty favorites, I used the Carly Bybel BH Cosmetics palette, which I love and rediscovered, but I realized that they no longer make this palette. So I'm going to show you guys the look in a very similar palette, my BH Nouveau Neutrals palette. It has a lot of similar tones. So I'm going to start off with this color in the crease. Before I apply that though, I'm just going to set all over my eyelid with a translucent matte powder. You can use any powder or shadow. Dude, these BH Cosmetics palettes, I feel like they're just so underrated. More people don't use them. They're so good. And I'm just buffing that in my crease using my Jaclyn Hill Morphe brush, the JH32 brush. This is one of my favorite blending brushes. And then now with the tip of the brush and a little bit lower in my crease, I'm going to take my MAC Single Shadow in the color Saddle. For my lid color, I remember using this shade in the Carly Bybel palette, which is like a beautiful bronze, and it almost has a bit of like a red base to it. So I'm gonna look for a dupe. So there's a color in the Tati palette that I use all the time that's really similar to this, but I know the Tati palette is also hard to get because I feel like it's always sold out since it's such an amazing palette. But I realized in the Nouveau Neutrals palette, if you mix this color right here and then this beautiful satin color together, you'll get a really similar color. And not to mention, this palette was on sale the other day and it was only $9, and you get all of these shades plus these blushes. I forgot all about that palette, and then like I've rediscovered it and I've been using it so much lately. I'll pack that on using my MAC 242 brush. I'm going to dip into the lighter color first, and then I'll dip into the darker one. Whenever I apply shimmers, I like starting in the center first. I'll do like a line down and then just pat it to the inner corner and then outer corner. But I always love it to be the most intense in the center of the eye. Make sure to really push it into your lash line. That way there are no gaps. I'm going to take a little bit more of the darker color and pat it. Alright, and then now taking my MAC 217 blending brush, any sort of smaller blending brush, I'm going to dip into this darker color here, mix it with this one, and I'm actually going to start by lightly dusting it in the inner corner first, and then tapering it out. I'm going to take the first blending brush and blend it all out. So our bronzy eyes are complete, so now we can move on to the face. Decided to use my lens that I never use, and it's like super zoomed in. So I'm hoping you guys like being this close to me. So to start off, I'll be using my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter Youth Glow. I don't even know what this is. You can use this by itself. I used it by itself in my Get to Know Me video, but it also looks really pretty layered like underneath of foundation. It's super sheer. It is slightly tinted. I like to use it both ways. For this look, I do want it a little bit more of a soft glam, so I'm going to mix it. It is, as you can see, a lot darker. What I do like about this though is that if I do want to use this on its own, I can, and this will just really lightly tint my skin so that it matches my body. I use SPF 70 every single day on my face, so my face always stays this pale, but my body is like super tan. And what am I gonna buff it out with? Ooh, and I love buffing that out with my Morphe JH03 brush. See, like once you work it into the skin, it's just like a soft skin tint. So you guys can't see, but I'm actually buffing a little bit out right here, just to help soften up my tan lines, because Alex and I have been walking every day that we're off together, and I've been getting super tan, but then obviously where my tank top is, it stays really light, and I'm not used to that because I normally just do self tanner. Look at it, doesn't that give such a pretty just like soft glow to the skin? So for foundation, I'll be using my Hourglass Vanish stick. I have been so obsessed with this. I mentioned this in my quarantine favorites video. It truly is just great when you want more coverage but you don't want to feel like you have anything on your skin. Mine is in the color Golden. My favorite brush to buff that out has been my IT Cosmetics foundation brush. And what I'll do is I'll take my Lightful C lotion spray. I'll spray this on the back of my hand, and then I'll pick some of that up with my brush and buff out the foundation, and it gives you the most like hydrated, smooth, even finish. It helps kind of like sheer out the product a little bit too, so it doesn't look as heavy. And then not only that, but you're just getting extra skincare benefits with that lotion spray, and it leaves the skin with like a really pretty soft glow. To bronze up, I'll be using my e.l.f. Deep Caramel Hydrating Camo Concealer. I absolutely love this for cream contour / bronzing. I like to just do a stripe on my forehead, a little stripe up here, and a stripe here, and then I'll do a little bit on the tip of my nose, and then I'll just like blend that up once I do my nose contour. My Morphe JH04 brush to buff that in. And I like to just lightly pat it on my cheekbones like this, pushing it up. That way I don't drag it too far down. I keep the definition there without it buffing out too much. And then I'll take whatever's left on my brush and work it on my jawline. Before I buff out my nose contour, I'm going to go ahead and apply my concealer. For the concealer, I'll be using the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion one. Start it on the sides of my nose and then just work it out and up. So I'm going to buff out my nose contour first, and then I'll buff out my concealer, and the concealer will help blend it. I'm going to use the other side of my IT Cosmetics brush, and I'm just going to slowly start pulling it upward, and then I'll work it into my shadow / brow area here. I feel like this just helps prevent me from going overboard with my nose contour, because I've mentioned this in so many videos. Like, I will get way too carried away with my nose contour. Now I'm going to buff out my concealer using my Blend My Face Micro Fiber Sponge. I mentioned this in my favorites video. I've been loving it. It has dried out a little bit because I wet it right before I started filming. So I'm going to spray it with some Fix Plus. You guys, this sponge does not play when it comes to coverage. So the last couple of days I've been using my e.l.f. Camo Sponge, which I do really like. It's super squishy, but I've been having to layer more concealer with it, and I was like, why isn't my concealer giving me as much coverage as it normally does? And it's because this sponge literally just like doesn't soak up anything. It really maximizes the coverage, but you still get that like beauty sponge airbrush finish. And then using the butt of my microfiber sponge, I'm just gonna buff everything out. To set my face, I'll be using the JCat Beauty Aquasurance Foundation in medium beige and my Morphe E41 brush. I'm going to take a smaller brush with the same powder and just lightly set my under eye right before I bake. Now I'm going to be baking using my Wet n Wild Photo Focus powder in translucent. And with the Blend My Face microfiber sponge, I'm going to pick up the powder, pat it on my hand so that it's nice and even. And then I like to set the sides of my nose first. And I'm just bringing it all the way down. And then once I do that, I'll just lightly bake underneath of my eyes and above my eyebrows. And then I'd like to take a really skinny brush and I'll set the powder down my nose. I will bronze up using the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer, and I'll buff it out with my Morphe M527. And then I like to just clean up underneath of my bronzer with the same transparent powder. Alright, I'm just going to quickly wipe away my underneath bake, and to do that I'm just pressing it into my under eye. I feel like by pressing it, it gives me the most like airbrush finish. Now I'm just gonna buff out my lower lash line using this color and this color in the Nouveau Neutrals palette. I'm gonna start with the darker color first and stamp it really close to my lashes. And then now I'm going to dip into the lighter color and buff it out. Now I'm just going to quickly spritz my face with some Fix Plus. I'm going to get my face like lightly damp because for blush today I'll be using the Maybelline Cheek Heat in Rose Blush. Once my face gets like a little bit dried down from the Fix Plus but it's still slightly damp, that's when I like to go in with this. And like I mentioned in my favorites video, I like to put it on the back of my hand and then work it in with like a slightly dense but still kind of fluffy synthetic brush. And I just work it into the brush like this. Once I have it like even all over the brush, I like to just slightly pat it on cheek. And now I'm just going to take a little bit of my Maybelline Strobing liquid in light iridescent, and I'm going to work that on the back of my hand as well, and then use that as my highlight for my cheeks. But I'm going to take a powder highlight down my nose and on my forehead. I've always been scared to work creams on top of powders, but I find that if you work it into the brush on the back of your hand first and then apply it, it goes on so much smoother. And then to highlight down my nose, I'll just be using my MAC Hyper Real Glow palette. I'm going to take the center color and then a little in my inner corner. And we can't forget about underneath the eyebrow. And then I just like to lightly take some in the center of the lid and bring it up to the brow, and that just helps lift it a little bit more. And then now to give a little bit of a brighter under eye highlight, I'll be taking the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder. So pretty, sheer, and it just looks so good on the skin. I'm going to take a little bit of this on the sides of my nose, and then I like to buff it out and up. And for lips, since I'm going to be lining my lips with a lip pencil, I'm going to use my MAC Prep and Prime Lip Primer. Not only does this help keep whatever lipstick that you're using on longer and like fill in the little crevices, but I love it whenever I'm using my lip pencils as lipsticks because it smooths out your lips and gives it a little bit of a slip so that it's so much easier to glide over your lips with a lip pencil. Then for my lip pencil slash lipstick, I'm going to be using my favorite lip color at the moment, and it's the Milani Nude 3 lip pencil for $3.47. The quality of this pencil is so good. It's so smooth. It would glide on easy over my lips even without the primer. So I'm just going to line and color in my entire lip. And I believe that this lip gloss was discontinued too. In my quarantine beauty favorites, I use the ColourPop I Love Sere E lip gloss in the shade Curvy. It's just such a pretty muted pink. The color Boy Bait by MAC is pretty close to the lip color. And then the NYX Tiramisu lip gloss is pretty close too. I'm using this one just because I love it. This is super opaque too, so I only put a little bit in the center and then I buff it out with my finger. I'm now just going to do a small wing using my Wet n Wild Mega Liner in dark brown. So my wings are absolutely never perfect, but to be honest, I never give like 2 craps because that's just life, and I feel like the more I try to tweak it, the worse it gets. So I just, as long as they're somewhat related and they look like maybe distant cousins, I'm good with it. And then to line my waterline, I'll be using my Morphe Coconut Liner. I love this because it just really opens up the eye and just makes everything look so pretty and soft. So for mascara today, I'll be using the L'Oreal Lash Paradise Primer and then the Bambi Lash by L'Oreal in black brown, and I'll be using a eyelash curler. So I'm gonna curl my lashes first because I'm not gonna be doing falsies today, and then I'm gonna work the primer at the base of my lash, and then now I'll go in with the mascara. Alright, and then now I'm just gonna lightly curl my lashes one more time. That way they're super lifted. And here you have it. This is the completed, super easy, soft, summer, bronzy glam with glowy skin. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this makeup tutorial. If you did like it, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Definitely don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. I truly love and appreciate you more than you know. I pray that you all have a great day and stay safe. I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!